The morning fog clung to Boston streets, a muffled chill falling over the city as Thanksgiving approached. In one warm kitchen on Newbury Street, a family's warmth will be tested by a heartless deed that will break their ties, or strengthen them. Elise Morgan rolled out pie crust, her hand steady at such an early hour, the aroma of flour and butter wafting through her bakery, La Bonne Pâtisserie. On the sidewalk, pedestrians rushed through the mist, their footsteps hastening with holiday cheer. "Mom, look." Lucas, her 8-year-old boy, grinned, holding up a cupcake he'd adorned with fine swirls of frosting, his small hands surprisingly dexterous. "Wow, Lucas," Elise said, tousling his hair, her heart full to bursting. Saturday mornings were their tradition, baking side by side in the busy shop she'd created from scratch. Her husband, Daniel, a sales director at Harper Enterprises, had departed at dawn for a client visit, his high-stress career merciless even on weekends. The daughter of a lone mother from Boston's South End, Elise had fought her way up, pastry school on a scholarship, years of work as a pastry chef in a high-end hotel, and now her own successful bakery. A recent Boston Globe feature had named La Bonne Pâtisserie a city gem, drawing crowds that snapped up her croissants within hours. "Elise, we're nearly sold out already." Sarah, a staff member, called from the front, her voice bright. Elise smiled, wiping flour from her hands, still marveling at her dream come true. Lucas, after school, always finished his homework at the shop counter, sometimes piping frosting or molding dough, his attention following hers. At a recent parent-teacher meeting, his teacher addressed him as a gentle leader, bringing together his classmates. "When I grow up, I want to be a pastry chef like Mom," he'd announced during a class presentation, his voice triumphant. Daniel's career was also flying high. A big real estate transaction last week had increased his team's goals, his leadership winning compliments company-wide at Harper Enterprises. Not everyone clapped for them, however. Marrying someone from her background is a shame, Daniel's mother, Patricia Harper, had snorted when they got engaged. Patricia, as the CEO of Harper Enterprises, was Boston royalty, with socialite status linked to charity functions and old money. To her, Elise's background in a poverty-stricken area was an affront to the family name. She'd shown up at their wedding, her smile frozen, and her contempt never easing. When Lucas was born, she fawned over her other grandchildren but treated him as an outsider, avoiding him at high society gatherings or brushing him off with snarky comments. At Lucas's 8th birthday last month, she had skipped the party on an invitation, explaining later to him, "Luxury gifts don't suit a child of your mother's kind." His crushed face still lingered in Elise's mind, a hurt that would not heal. Yesterday, an invitation to the annual Thanksgiving dinner of the Harper family arrived, a tradition fraught with tension. "You don't have to go," Daniel told her, his forehead furrowed. But Lucas's voice echoed from the dinner table, hopeful and small, "I want to see Grandma. Maybe she'll like me this time." Elise couldn't crush that wish. "We'll go," she decided, meeting Daniel's concerned gaze. He nodded, understanding their son's heart. Thanksgiving morning dawned cold, the air sharp as Elise crimped the edges of an apple pie, her professional pride refusing to let her show up empty-handed. Chestnut Hill streets shone with holiday lights, maple trees burning crimson, curled leaves whirling. "Is my tie okay, Mom?" Lucas had called out from the back seat, adjusting his new navy suit, a silver pin shining on his lapel. Elise had checked him in the rearview mirror, his face a combination of anxiety and hope. "Perfect, buddy," she'd said, her voice soothing over the lump in her chest. Daniel's hands clenched the steering wheel, jaw set hard, the weight of the day bearing down on him. In the Harper mansion, luxury automobiles, Bentley, Mercedes, Rolls-Royce, pulled in the drive, shimmering in the pale sun. The Victorian house towered above, its red brick face and arched windows exuding old money. The front garden, neatly manicured, murmured of the Harper tradition. Warm air and the rich scent of roasting turkey greeted them as they stepped inside, chandeliers casting a golden glow over the grand hall. Daniel's father, Robert, welcomed them warmly, his gray suit exuding quiet dignity. "Elise, Daniel, good to see you," he said, his voice kind, always the family peacemaker. "Lucas, you've grown," he added, patting the boy's head. Lucas's tight shoulders relaxed as he followed his cousins, merging into their conversation, his smile hesitant but increasing. The day began almost as usual, maids rushing about, in-laws and designer suits mingling, the ring of crystal wine glasses. The dining room was an art piece, a long table clothed in snow-white linen, old silver candelabras flared, family heirloom silverware sparkling beside delicate china. A large, steaming, golden turkey held down the spread, sweet potato gratin, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, cranberry sauce. Elisa's apple pie stood with the desserts, a discreet source of pride. "Ladies and gentlemen, take your seats," the butler announced, and 20 relatives filed in, Robert and Patricia at the center, elders on either side. Elise, Daniel, and Lucas were seated in the middle, place cards reserved for them. But as they drew near, Elisa's heart froze. Where Lucas's silver service plate should have been positioned, there was a stainless steel dog bowl, brown kibble inside, the word puppy engraved on the lip. The room went silent, gasps spreading through the guests. An uncle coughed awkwardly, a cousin looked away, an aunt turned her face aside. Lucas's small hand grasped Elisa's sleeve, shaking, his eyes wide with pain. "What the devil is this?" Daniel's voice trembled, anger burning in his eyes. Patricia lifted her wine glass, emerald dress glowing with light, a cold smile twisting her lips. "Why should a child of her kind eat like us?" She spoke, her voice dripping with nastily crafted venom. The table stilled, Robert choking on a cough, a maid spilling a glass that crashed on the marble floor. Lucas's lips trembled, tears on the verge of spilling as he struggled to suppress them. Something inside Elise cracked, a silent, unbreakable determination. She rose slowly, the creak of the chair shattering the deafening quiet, and grasped Lucas's chill, shaking hand. His little squeeze back anchored her. Without speaking, she guided him away, Daniel standing behind her, his breathing thick with fury. Their footsteps resounded on the gleaming floor as they went towards the door. The cold November air greeted them when they emerged, the warmth of the mansion turned cold in its wake. Voices erupted behind them, Robert's yells, aunt's murmurs, cousins' protests, but none followed. Elise settled Lucas in the back seat, his tiny body still trembling. She watched through the windshield as silhouettes in the second-story windows peeked, eyes visible beyond lace curtains. The car engine revved loudly to life, shattering the Thanksgiving stillness. No words were spoken on the ride home, the rumble of the engine providing a silence. Lucas's image in the window indicated a boy attempting to be courageous, suit still pressed from the shame. In the living room, the comforting warmth of home seemed empty, shadows cast on the walls. "Lucas, we need to get you in a bath," Elise said gently, putting an arm around him. He nodded, saying nothing, his gaze far away. As she assisted him out of his suit, his tiny back shuddered beneath her hands, the fabric weighed with the day that ought to have been a happy one. In the bathroom, steam curled as she carefully washed his back, his own attempts at conversation stilled by a sullen silence that shredded her heart. "Why does Grandma dislike me so much?" he breathed, his words hanging precariously on a whisper. Elisa's throat constricted, anger and grief crashing into each other. "You did nothing wrong, sweetheart," she said, kneeling beside him. "Some people are unkind, but that's not about you, it's about them." Back in his pajamas, Lucas sat on his bed, his eyes still glistening. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said, his voice cracking. Elise pulled him close, his tears soaking her shirt as he let go of the pain he'd held in. "You have nothing to be sorry for," she said fiercely, rubbing his back. "I just wished Grandma would like me," he wept, his tiny body shuddering. Elise hugged him closer, her own tears falling in silence. "Your pastries are the best, Mom," he whispered, a glimmer of his light pushing through. She smiled through tears, promising to guard that light in him, whatever lay ahead. Elise sat beside Lucas's bed, her heart aching as he swabbed away tears from his cheeks, his small voice cracking through the hurt. "Your pastries are the best, Mom," he managed a slight smile and said. She read his beloved bedtime story, The Little Prince, her voice gentle and unshakable. Drained, Lucas sank into a peaceful sleep, his breathing serene in spite of the faint tear marks on his face. She kissed his forehead softly, but when she turned to walk away, he whispered, "Mom." That one word fired her up. Balling her fists, Elise promised herself she would protect her son from any further cruelty, no matter what it took. In the living room, Daniel slumped over his phone, his normally placid face twisted in a seething anger Elise had seldom witnessed. Company papers littered the coffee table, a chaotic reflection of his mood. "I'll never forgive her," he growled, his voice low, his fist trembling. "Elise, I've had enough." He stood, dialing his mother's number with a fierce intensity. Elise didn't stop him, this confrontation was long overdue. The dial tone pierced the quiet, Patricia's voice crackling through, sharp with defiance. "A joke? You call embarrassing an 8-year-old a joke?" Daniel's voice rose, veins bulging in his neck. "This is over. We're finished, family, company, the works. I'm quitting tomorrow." Patricia's voice grew desperate, but Daniel shut her down, slamming the phone onto the receiver, his hand still trembling. He turned to Elise, his eyes burning with determination but filled with shame. "I'm sorry, Elise, for letting you and Lucas suffer this." She took his hand, echoing the words she'd told Lucas. "You've done nothing wrong." His grip tightened, a silent promise between them. That night, Daniel worked late, making calls with a focus Elise hadn't seen before. He spoke to trusted colleagues at Harper Enterprises, laying out his plan to leave. To Elise's surprise, many rallied behind him, fed up with Patricia's iron-fisted control. "Mr. Harper, I'm with you," said Tom Reynolds, a seasoned sales manager. "I'm out too, let's build something new." Claire Nguyen, a rising star in the department, added, "Count me in, Daniel. I'm done with her games." Client calls followed, despite the late hour. Major players, like the CEO of Beacon Realty, responded warmly. "We trust you, Daniel. We're in for your new venture." Each call carved a clearer path to independence, Daniel's tension easing with every ally gained. By morning, Harper Enterprises was reeling. News of Daniel's resignation hit like a shockwave, followed by a flood of others. Top talent from sales, frustrated by Patricia's toxic leadership, walked out. "We're losing half our contracts," the HR director reported, voice trembling. "Clients are demanding reviews, and sales projections are down 35%. The finance team's report painted a grim picture, the company teetering under Patricia's mismanagement. Meanwhile, Daniel's new venture, Harper & Company, took shape with stunning speed. He rented office space in Boston's financial district, investors queued up, attracted by his reputation. Lawyer meetings, IT installations, and organizational charts filled his days, but the dream of a company independent of Patricia's shadow drove him on. On a still morning, a frantic banging shook Elise from her work at the bakery. "Open the door, Elise." Patricia's voice, anguished and desperate, echoed through the street. She saw through the curtains her mother-in-law's Bentley parked drunkenly, its sheen a stark contrast to its usual gloss. Elise pushed open the door, bracing herself. Patricia was rumpled, her designer suit creased, makeup smudged, her handbag hanging askew. "You seduced my son and destroyed our family," she spat, her face torn between rage and desolation. Elise's tone was gentle, icy. "Who actually destroyed this family? You treated your own grandson like trash." A soft sound came from the stairs, Lucas, awake, his eyes wide. Patricia froze, her rage faltering. Daniel stepped forward, his presence towering. "Enough, mother. Leave. You're not welcome here anymore." His voice was iron, unyielding. Patricia stared at him, a flicker of regret in her eyes, quickly buried under her old arrogance. "I have my pride," she hissed, her voice trembling, then turned and stormed to her car. The door closed hard, the sound ringing like a last note. Lucas padded downstairs, holding Elise and Daniel's hands, his tiny fingers warm with trust. In the touch, Elise sensed a glimmer of hope for their future. At Harper Enterprises, the atmosphere was oppressive with defeat. The formerly busy office was still, morale shattered. More than 40% of our key clients are withdrawing, the finance director intoned at a strained board meeting, a thick report thudding on the table. Patricia's empire was crumbling, her brutality the spark. Elise observed Lucas piping frosting in the bakery, his smile reappearing incrementally. The agony of Thanksgiving remained, but so did their determination to create something new, a life free from Patricia's shadow, founded on love and strength. Harper Enterprises was coming apart, the real estate branch hardest hit. New orders for projects had stopped, the turnover in sales personnel reaching over 70%, with the remaining employees secretly looking for a new job. Recent graduates are turning us down, the HR director said, strained voice. Next year's manpower plan is destroyed. Patricia's hold on the company grew weaker by the day, her former commanding presence failing. Under pressure at a tense board meeting, her efforts to shift blame rang hollow, her eyes tired under thick makeup. We have received a formal request from institutional investors for an emergency shareholders meeting, announced the legal director, the room growing tense. The agenda, restructuring of management. The share price fell, market capitalization dropping 30% in a week, a fresh daily low. The conference room door slammed open. Robert burst in, holding a Boston Globe, its cover shouting, Harper Enterprises CEO accused of embezzlement. The 3-page exposé itemized Patricia's misuses, $500,000 in personal jet travel charged to the firm, a $2 million home makeover claimed as business expenses, discriminatory conduct toward minority employees, secretive promotions, harassment of women workers, and intentional demotions of non-white employees. Small businesses documented her cutthroat moves, unreasonable price reductions, late payments, flouting all ethics. Whistleblowers came forward with evidence, the director of law added. The SEC is conducting an investigation. Staff, previously cowed by Patricia's dictation, had deluged an anonymous tip line with affidavits. Her defense, these were good decisions, sounded thin, her designer outfit no longer a bulwark. Robert's voice was the only one in the room, sharp and definitive. Patricia, you're finished as CEO. Resign from management altogether. We cannot allow you to ruin this company further. The room went cold, her control broken. Security stood by as she packed her Birkin bag, hands trembling, her once regal figure reduced to a weary woman. The next day, Robert addressed a packed employee meeting in the company's grand hall, the air thick with uncertainty and hope. Effective immediately, I'm taking full control, he declared. We're dismantling discriminatory policies, implementing transparent promotions, revising compensation, and forming a diversity committee. Scattered applause grew, employees sensing a shift. Robert paused, his voice softening. I owe an apology to my son, Daniel. My inaction earlier harmed him, his wife, and his son. The crowd shifted, his brutal candor an ignition of change. The market reacted, stocks rose 15% from their trough, and separated partners showed interest in reconnection. New models launched, equitable assessments, increased childcare, and minority recruitment programs, which were lauded in industry reports. Harper & Company prospered in the meantime. We've signed a $50 million waterfront project with Beacon Realty, Tom Reynolds, now Daniel's deputy, reported, his eyes alight. The office buzzed with energy, former Harper Enterprises talent driving innovation in a free environment. Young staff shone, their ideas fueling growth, and industry outlets hailed Daniel as a visionary, his focus on diversity setting a new standard. One quiet morning, an email from Robert arrived. Son, I've let you down as a father. Can we talk about the business, and most of all, our family? Included was an article with implications of cooperation among their businesses. Daniel gazed at the screen, his anger gone now, but craving a fresh beginning. He typed a brief response, Free Sunday? Lucas wants to see you. A small step toward mending a broken family. Boston streets glimmered with Christmas lights, a month following the Thanksgiving debacle. La Bonne Pâtisserie was a holiday hotspot, lines forming for Elise's stolen and botched de Noël. Mom, you're in the Globe again. Lucas shouted, waving a newspaper, his smile bright. The article praised the bakery's creative spins on classics and its warm vibe, a testament to Elise's grit. In Chestnut Hill, a moving truck pulled away from the Harper mansion. Patricia, removed as CEO and shunned by society, had scaled down to a modest Back Bay apartment, her high-end furniture sold, her universe contracting. She sat next to a window, holding a glass of wine, observing families walk by, her glory days a memory now. Under Robert's stewardship, Harper Enterprises changed. Discriminatory policies disappeared, giving way to meritocratic systems and diversity initiatives. Then a bombshell was dropped. Robert floated a merger with Harper and Company. Harper and Sons, the new name, represented a father and son working together to redefine their history. Sunday brunch at Elise's bakery was a subdued milestone. Lucas discussed frosting methods with Robert, his laughter dispelling the Thanksgiving grief. "Grandpa, I'm baking you a cake next," he exclaimed, his eyes aglow. Robert's eyes watered, his voice thick. "I'd like that very much, Lucas." Elise and Daniel, their relationship cemented by the ordeal, marveled as their son flourished. Elise sometimes wondered about Patricia, alone in her apartment, a shadow of herself. But staring at Lucas, piping cupcakes with a smile, she knew their decision was correct. The city radiated holiday magic, new shoots of hope bursting under the winter ice. Their family, once shattered, was remaking itself, stronger, anchored in love and truth. Cruelty can shatter a family, but honesty and bravery can reassemble it into something even better. Liked this story of redemption and resilience? Like, share with friends, and subscribe to Revenza Tales for more thrilling stories. Comment below, what would you do if confronted with a family betrayal like this?